Let me ask you something. What do you offer the world every day? Not just through your words, not through your status, but through your karma, your work. You see, in this journey of life, that defines us is the steps we take every single day. We chant the name of the divine and we sing praises of peace. But what are we building with our hands when no one is watching? What are we creating with our time when the world is silent? Your work is the loudest song your soul sings into the world. The great saints didn't just sit under trees and meditate. They served, they healed, they built, they glorified the name of the Almighty without hurrying anything. So today I'm not here to talk about just jobs or careers. I'm here to wake up your awareness, to remind you your work defines your life, trophies, but in the legacy you carve through sincerity, purity, and devotion. Imagine waking up each morning, not with dread, not with pressure, not even with a checklist, but with a silent prayer in your heart. What if we stopped looking at our jobs, our chores, our responsibilities as a burden, and instead began to see them as blessings disguised in everyday clothing? That's the beauty of the truth. Often reserve our deepest respect for rituals, for the flame we light in front of the divine, for the sacred chants we echo, for the silent prayers we whisper when the world is asleep. Lose their meaning. If our daily actions remain empty of devotion, the way we treat the task in front of us reveals more about our spiritual maturity than how many scriptures we can quote. Let's pause and reflect. When a mother cooks for a family, the same to the other. She stir-fries the pot, not just with ingredients, but with concerned love and care. She's not seeking applause. She's not waiting for a job well done. Her reward is the smile of her child. It's worship in motion. Or take the example of a man who wakes before sunrise to drive a rickshaw through crowded lanes. He doesn't complain. He doesn't curse the traffic. He simply does what he needs to do with honesty, with humility. His hands on the steering handle are no less fluent in prayer. He is working, but he is also worshiping. Why? Because his work is pure, his intent is keen, his service is sincere. You don't need a temple to be spiritual, for you just need to see your life. Your work as the space where your soul performs its arti. Every phone call you answer with patience. Every document you submit with effort. Possibility becomes part of your prayer. But somewhere along the way, society tricked us into separating the sacred from the secular. We began thinking that spirituality was only in stillness, that God could only be found in quiet rooms. But listen closely, God is as present in a construction site as he is in a quiet cave. He is just as present in the hands of a farmer tilling the soil as he is in a monk sitting in silence. It's about perspective. Another sweeps the same road and thanks the divine for giving him a chance to serve. One sees it as punishment. The other sees it as purpose. Same task, different mindset. And that difference, that's where worship begins. So to get to do this, even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The saints have always told us, Fer kem men ram hai. In your work is the divine. But to experience that, same your work with the same reverence that you show up to a sacred place, you must sit at your desk, enter your kitchen, walk into your classroom, step into your field with the belief that you're not just earning money or chasing success. Think of the potter, hitak, smart. Something the world steps on without a second glance and patiently, slowly breathes life into it. His fingers move with focus. His eyes follow form. He doesn't rush the process. He respects the clay. Fourth and lasting, that's what worshipful work looks like. It transforms the mundane into the meaningful. And you don't need to be perfect at your work to make it worshipful. You just need to be present, fully there. Whether you're answering emails, cleaning a room, helping a customer, or painting a canvas, if you do it with honesty, you are on a spiritual path, you are already in prayer. We must unlearn the idea that only religious activities are sacred. Working is sacred. If you bring your soul into it, don't wait for a perfect job to start worshiping through work. Worship right where you are. Even if your job feels small, even if your position feels overlooked, remember, the divine watches integrity, not income. So the next time you feel tired or uninspired, remind yourself someone out there is praying for the job you complain about. Someone out there is dreaming of the opportunity you take for granted. Visualization, rekindle your gratitude. And then when you sit down to work, whisper to your heart, this is not just my duty, this is my devotion. Because when your work becomes worship, your life becomes a temple. And your days become prayers that never end. That is not just a poetic phrase, it's a profound way of living. What you do with your hands, how you speak with your mouth, where you focus your thoughts, how you walk through each moment of the day, all of it can either be noise or a sacred melody. But in the awareness with which it is done, we live in a world where people often wait for the right moment to be spiritual. They want a quiet place, a candle lit room, some incense burning. But what if I told you that you don't have to wait for the perfect setting? What if I told you that the act of folding laundry can be as holy as folding your hands in prayer, as sacred as reciting verses? That chopping vegetables for dinner, sweeping the floor, driving your kids to school, sitting in meetings. All of that, if done with the right intention and awareness, becomes a spiritual offering. Picture an elderly man running a tea stall on the corner of a busy street. Every morning before he opens the stall, he closes his eyes and quietly says, "Let every cup of tea I make today bring comfort to someone's tired soul." He doesn't need a temple. Each cup is each smile he shares, his offering to the divine. He doesn't need grand gestures to show his face. Actions speak silently. And guess what? The divine hears the silence louder than the loudest chant. Of making your actions offerings, it turns every moment into a blessing. You don't have to be a sage. You don't need a title. You just need a willing heart. The way you greet the security guard in the morning, the way you reply to an email, right? All of these are not small acts. They are sacred transactions of the soul. There's a story of a young boy who used to clean the floor of a small temple. He wasn't a priest. He wasn't educated. But every day before sunrise, light the lamps, whisper, let whoever steps here today feel peace. One day, a wanderer saint came to that temple and wept silently in the corner. That's why he cried. The saint replied, I've traveled far and wide, but the ground felt peace like I did here. The ground itself sings with stillness. That peace wasn't an accident. It was an offering built slowly, consistently with every sweep of that boy's broom. You see, worship, we lose the magic of daily life. But when we remember that everything we do is seen by the one who created us, we begin to pour more of our soul into even the simplest of tasks. Washing the dishes becomes a way to cleanse the mind of compassion. Patient in traffic becomes a lesson in surrender. Think of a musician who plays not for applause but for healing. Or a teacher who enters the classroom not just to complete a syllabus, but to light a spark in every student's heart. Because they no longer with a frightened patient whisper, you're not alone. These actions may never climb, may never receive word, but they are noticed by the universe. They are recorded in a higher book. They become timeless offerings. Is the invitation today to turn your actions into offerings. When you cook, offer the food to the well-being of those who will eat it. When you speak, offer your words as a balm, not a blade. When you work as if you are laying bricks in a temple you may never see completed. Work as if you are lighting lamps in hearts you may never meet again. Not every offering needs to be placed on a plate. Some offerings are invisible but powerful. Your discipline is an offering. Your forgiveness is an offering. Even your silence, when spoken in love, is an offering. Let your life be like a garden where every action you take becomes a flower at the feet of the divine. Trust that no action done with love is ever wasted. The smallest ripple creates waves in unseen realms. And when you live like this, you begin to feel a deep stillness in your soul. Not because everything is perfect. So the next time you are about to do something, pause, take a breath, and offer it. Offer it with love. Offer it with awareness. Offer it with a whisper that says, this too is for you. And in that moment, a sacred expression, that's how every action becomes an offering. That's how you turn your whole life into a living prayer. Intent matters more than title. Those 5 words hold the power to shift how we live, how we serve, and how we define success. Status, where people chase labels, applause, likes, and positions. It's easy to forget that what truly reaches the heart of the divine and the hearts of people is not your title, but the intention behind your actions. Engineer or manager. But if your work is driven by ego, comparison, or pride, that title is just noise. But someone else could be a janitor, a shopkeeper, and yet live and serve with such pure intent that their entire life becomes a fragrance. Intent is invisible to the world, but fully visible to God. It's not what you do, it's the heart with which you do it that makes your life meaningful. Let's take an example. One teaches just to finish the syllabus, counting the minutes until the bell rings. The other walks into class with a fire in their heart, seeing each child as a future soul to be shaped, to be nurtured. But only one is true reaching, one is doing, the other is creating impact. Why? Because of intent. Think of the people in your own life who have left a mark on you. Was it because of their position or because of their presence? The energy behind those words. Most of the time, we remember those who served us silently, those who listened to us when no one else did, those who went out of their way without asking for recognition. That's the power of pure intent. From one soul to another without needing title, stack, or awards. Village where a wealthy man at the temple, he brought in the best sculptors, the most skilled architects, and spared no cost in decorating it. On the day of the inauguration, all the people gathered, praising the man's generosity. Silently in the corner of the temple and bowed before the little boy who swept the floor each morning. The crowd looked confused. Why do you bow to the boy? Someone asked. The sage smiled and said, holier than the hands that built it with pride. The world often rewards position, but the universe honors intention. And that's what we often forget in our fast-paced lives. From the outside, that we forget to ask why we're doing it in the first place. Why do you post what you post? Why do you speak what you speak? Why do you serve, love, work, give, or even pray? If the intent is to impress others, the intent is to uplift, to contribute, to serve, to grow, then that same act becomes timeless. Let's bring it closer to daily life. You might be preparing a meal. Now, you can just throw ingredients into a pot, cook it fast. Let this food bring strength, health, and joy to whoever eats it. The food might taste the same, but the energy behind it changes everything. That is the unseen power of intention. You can speak just to win, to prove your point, to sound smart, or you can speak with the intent to heal, to understand, to connect. The words might be the same, but the vibration is completely different. One creates distance, The other builds closeness, even in prayer. The same truth applies. Two people may recite the same verse. One repeats it mechanically as a routine. The other speaks it with tears in their eyes, longing in their voice, faith in their chest. The words. God doesn't listen to your grammar. He listens to your genuine heart. The truth is, we don't need a title to matter. We don't need to be rich, famous, or powerful to make a difference. We just need a heart that is aligned. And when your intent is clean, the smallest actions become great in the eyes of the divine. And when your intent is selfish, even the grandest actions become empty echoes. So ask yourself, why do I do what I do? Humility, peace, and growth, then keep walking. But if the answer leads you toward ego, competition, fear, or showing off, then it's time to pause, reflect, and realign. Because in the end, when all the titles are gone, when the spotlight dims, the quality will remain your intention. And that more than anything else will define your life. Devotion in duty. These three words carry the weight of an entire spiritual life. Belongs only in temples, in songs, in rituals, or in long hours of meditation. But the deepest form of devotion is found not in what we do when the world is what, but in how we carry out our everyday responsibilities when no one is around. And full surrender is perhaps the most powerful form of worship there is. Let's go to a simple village. There's a farmer who wakes up before the sun, ties his turban, and walks barefoot into the field. He doesn't speak many words. But as he plants each seed into the soil, he whispers a silent prayer. He doesn't pray for miracles. He simply offers his hard work to the divine. He tills the land as if it were sacred, waters the plants like they were living beings. His devotion isn't in songs, it's in his sweat. His offering isn't flowers, it's his effort. And that, in its essence, is devotion in duty. You don't need to stand on a stage or speak spiritual words to be devoted. You are in devotion. If you raise your children with patience and care, even when no one appreciates you, you are in devotion. If you show up to work every day and give your best, not for promotion, but because you believe in excellence, it's the spirit with which you do it. Imagine a woman who wakes before her family every morning. She prepares breakfast quietly, lays out clothes for her children, waters the plants, and makes sure everyone leaves the house with a smile. She doesn't seek recognition. She simply does what has to be done day after day with love and faith. Her routine may look ordinary, but her heart turns each task into something sacred. That is devotion. That is worship through action. In their lives, they ask, how can I feel closer to God, or how do I live a more spiritual life? And the answer isn't always in doing more. Sometimes it's in doing the same things, but with a deeper heart. You don't have to run away from your home to find peace. What you need is presence. What you need is to realize that every duty, no matter how small, is a doorway to the divine when done with love. Even in big professions, who treats a patient with genuine care, even if no one notices, is living devotion. A bus driver who greets each passenger with kindness, despite his own fatigue, is living devotion. All night so others can sleep peacefully is living devotion. None of them may be reciting prayers with their mouths, but their hearts are constantly in service. The great spiritual masters never said to escape life. They taught us to engage in life with sincerity. Whether you're a student, a parent, an artist, a businessman, or a helper, and you do it with all your being, that's the mark of someone who understands that God is present in every corner of life. Think of a sculptor chiseling a statue from stone. Each detail matters. He knows that the beauty is in the process, not just the result. He doesn't rush. He doesn't lose focus. He works with love. By the end, he has not only shaped the sculpture, but also shaped his own spirit. It refines not just the work, but the worker. In a time where distractions are many and appreciation is rare, choosing to stay committed to your duty is itself a spiritual act. When you don't let laziness take over. When you still show up, still serve, still smile, still give, then you are not just doing a duty, you are building a soul. If I have to this, too, I get to do this. That shift is where devotion begins. It brings gratitude into action. It transfers burden into blessing. It turns repetition into reverence. So whether you are folding clothes, managing a team, machine, or simply sitting with someone in silence, if your heart is present, if your spirit is involved, then you are not just fulfilling a task. You are fulfilling your purpose. You are practicing the highest form of worship. Because in the end, when the world forgets you and your titles fade, what will remain is the love with which you lived, the way you treated people, the integrity with which you worked, the care with which you served. Those things are eternal. Those things are divine. And these are what make your duty a beautiful devotion. This isn't just a motivational line, it's a spiritual truth. Laziness might seem harmless at first. It wears the disguise of comfort, of rest, of taking it easy. But behind that disguise, it silently steals your potential, your discipline, your opportunities. Just like how a single crack can slowly destroy the strongest wall, a lazy habit can slowly erode the strength of even the most focused mind. When you wake up in the morning and you hear that little voice say, "Well, it makes me innocent," but that moment shapes decisions, having another sure energy for the day. Laziness doesn't show up shouting and whispers. It waits. It convinces you that you deserve to sit back, postpone, delay, avoid. And while it does that, that's like an unused book on a forgotten shelf. Let's think of a simple example. Imagine a boy who has a dream to become a musician. He buys a guitar, watches inspiring videos, talks about his love for music. But each day, Some days because he's tired, other days because he's not in the mood, weeks pass, then months. And that guitar becomes part of the room's decoration, not part of his destiny. What stopped him? It wasn't lack of talent, it wasn't lack of passion. Now think of another person, a girl working at a local bakery. She wakes at 4 a.m. every single morning. She kneads dough, stands for hours, and serves each customer with a smile. It's not glamorous work, but she does it with grace and grit. Not just skill, not just strategy. No, the strategy was her refusal to give laziness a seat at her table. She understood that while the world is sleeping, life gives its rewards to those who are working. Laziness is one of the biggest blocks because real spiritual growth doesn't happen in grand gestures. It happens in consistent, quiet, daily discipline, waking up when it's hard, and doing the right thing even when you don't feel like it, in showing up for your commitments, in finishing what you start. These are not small things. They are sacred. Even in ancient scriptures, the importance of tipasya or disciplined effort was emphasized again and again. Would sit for hours in meditation, not because they had nothing else to do, but because they knew that effort is the fire through which the soul becomes gold. And that fire cannot be lit with a lazy heart. You can't claim to want clarity, peace. Look at nature. The sun rises without fail. Rivers flow without break. Trees grow steadily. Birds fly every day in search of food. No one tells them to. No one praises them. But they still move, still work, still fulfill their roles. Survive. And neither can it survive in a soul that wants to rise higher. There's a story of a monk who once asked his disciple, what is the greatest enemy of a seeker? The disciple answered, temptation, anger. The monk's smile is laziness, because temptation you can resist, anger you can cool, and pride you can humble. But laziness, it convinces you that there's no need to fight at all. When you choose to move even when your body says no, when you work even when the mood doesn't support it, when you push yourself to do one more thing, one more step, one more act, that's when laziness loses its grip. Even in this way, you gain power, you grow trust in yourself, you build momentum, you rise. It doesn't mean you never rest. Rest is holy, but laziness is not rest, it's avoidance. Rest refreshes. Laziness rots. Rest is chosen with awareness. Absence, start with small things. Make your bed in the morning or drink water with intention. Show up 5 minutes early. Finish what you promised. Don't wait for motivation. Act with discipline, because your mind won't always feel ready, but your soul to rise. So next time laziness whispers to you, remember this, it's not a harmless voice. It's the voice that keeps you from yourself. And every time you ignore it, every time you move, when it tells you to stop, you are choosing strength over stagnation. You are choosing your future over your comfort. Avoid laziness like a sin, because it is not just stealing your time. It is stealing your light. And the world needs your light. Your work echoes beyond you. When the day ends, that our effort fades when no one notices, that our small acts are swallowed by the business of life. But the truth is far more powerful and far more sacred. Every action, when done with sincerity, becomes a ripple. Time and even generations, creating an echo that carries your intention far beyond what your eyes can see. We often underestimate the influence of our daily actions because we're so used to seeking visible results. If no one praises us, there's no instant feedback, we start to assume our effort doesn't matter. But that's the illusion. Just because the result isn't visible doesn't mean the impact isn't real. A seed grows underground long before it breaks the surface. Similarly, the kindness you. So we carry it always surely, sometimes silently, but picture to the school's janitor. Most people walk past him, don't even make eye contact. But every morning, before the students arrive, and make sure the classrooms are clean and safe. He's not on a stage. He's not being applauded. But because of him, a child walks into school with dignity. Because of him, a teacher teaches in a clean space. Because of him, may change their future. His name may not be remembered in the school history, but his effort echoes through every lesson taught and every dream ignited in those rooms. In life, it's about how deeply your actions touch it. Think of a grandmother who raised her family with values, discipline, and care. She didn't run a business. She didn't make headlines. Her wisdom, her patience, her sacrifices, though they may not have been public, echo in every generation that follows her. Her life was like quiet song, yet its melody plays on. This truth stands tall. A young engineer working late into the night on a project might feel invisible. He's not in the spotlight. But because there's an extra effort, a bridge is stronger, a system runs better, a city is safer. His fingerprints are on the solution, and the echo of those work lives on, and the lives that benefit from it day after day. This is why it's so important to work not for applause, but for alignment. When your soul is aligned with your effort, or not your sin, your work carries a spiritual weight. You may not see where it lands, but the echo is real. In fact, some of the greatest impacts in the world were made by people who never saw the final fruit of their labor. The message to the future, they may never think of someone who plants a tree knowing they may never sit under its shade. That is selfless effort. That is trust. That is devotion. And that tree, when it grows, becomes a home for birds. Versus for travelers, a shelter for children playing in the heat. The echo of that simple act reaches far beyond the day it was planted. Your smile can lift someone's broken heart. Your kind word can stop someone from giving up. Inspire someone to live with integrity. Your silent prayers can bless someone who doesn't even know you're praying for them. That is the quiet part of your work. It's not just about what you get from it. It's about what you give into it. Stand. So don't let the silence around your efforts fool you. The universe hears you. People feel you even if they don't say it. And the divine knows the weight of your intentions. Sometimes in your own life. Other times it returns as unexpected grace for your children. And often it becomes the reason someone else dares to dream, dares to keep going. You were not created to live a life that ends with you. Carry something forward, hope, truth, or love, strength, wisdom. Every single day you work with integrity and you choose purpose or comfort. Every time you push the resistance with faith in your heart, you are sending out an echo. One day someone will walk a smoother path because of what you built. One day someone will heal faster because of the kindness you offered. One day someone will believe in themselves because of the echo of your work. So never believe your work disappears. It moves forward like wind through the trees. Let your life be one that echoes in ways words never can. Let your work speak long after you're silent, because in the end, the loudest voice you'll ever leave behind is the echo of your integrity.